Hi guys, good to see you. A bit of a different angle today. Well, I guess not really on YouTube, but sorta, but also a bit of a different angle on TikTok. Also, guys, just a gentle reminder, a gentle reminder that TikTok sent me today. If you are subscribed to the Spy Layer on TikTok, in order to renew your subscription, you have to press that star over here. Otherwise, it doesn't renew. So if you don't do it, then it's not going to renew, and you're not going to have access to all of the super cool emoticons. Hi, Rita. Hi, Netlin. Hi, Nazad. Hi. Hello. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Gab. Hi, Joe. Hi, Douglas. Hi, Prexis. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Scooter. Hi, James. Hi, everyone. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say that there is a lot of very interesting stuff happening behind the scenes to the channel that hopefully will work out to the best of my imagination of how it might work out and how it should work out. So there is some stuff that I posted about on Patreon, but I unfortunately cannot yet make too public because it hasn't yet happened, but it's in the talks. And I am preparing to do a very interesting interview with a very interesting figure in the space of Ukraine. Thank you, Rita. Welcome to the Spy Layer. But basically, yes, so there's going to be, hi, Crazy Cat. Hi, James. No ads yet. I'm still in review. Hi, Amanda. Good to see you. But so yeah, basically an interesting, so I'm preparing to do a very interesting interview. I can't tell you with who yet. I did post about it on Patreon, but that's because Patreon is a small community, and I wouldn't want to make it, I wouldn't want to make it here, I wouldn't want to make it too public, especially before it happens, because I think it's a very important interview for me, and it's going to be a very important interview for everyone. And I really hope that, other than it just being very important for me and very important for everyone, I really hope that it does bring a new perspective on a certain group of Ukrainian people, on a certain very notorious group of Ukrainian people. Let's put it that way. And I hope that it answers all of the questions that everyone might have. I hope that it answers some of the more confusing questions. I hope that it gives you more of an insight of who these guys are. And I hope it gives you more of an insight into sort of what they do, how they do it, and why they do it. And kind of also, hopefully, it will not even, I wouldn't say clear up their reputation, because their reputation shouldn't be tarnished to begin with, but more so will debunk all of the existing Russian propaganda about them and how they're trying to position that particular group of Ukrainian people in the eyes of the world. And although I know that a lot of people now, of course, understand the truth and know that Russia works hard and long to make specific people look bad and to make heroes into villains and villains into heroes, there's still a lot of questions that I see online about this group of people. Hi, Peter. Good to see you. About this group of people, I still see a lot of confusion about them. I still see a lot of sort of questions. I still see a lot of narratives that are not necessarily, even people who support them still have some very questionable ideas about them. And hopefully that interview will be able to clear all of that up and also give you a little bit of an insight in what it was like to be in very specific situations that are concerning the defense of Ukraine. while being that particular group of people. That's all I can say. I'm sure that a lot of you, Heroim Slava, a lot of you have an idea of who I'm talking about. I'm sure that a lot of you are beginning to wonder, and I'm not really saying this to build any sort of suspense, maybe just a little bit, because I sort of would like that interview to be heard and watched by as many people as possible. But I also don't want to say outright who this interview is with yet, because we are just on the stages of pre-submission of questions for approval. So but we're getting there. So yeah, so hopefully that'll be a very interesting, hopefully it's going to be a very interesting set of questions for us. Hopefully that'll be a very interesting interview for you, and hopefully it'll bring you a lot of perspective, and hopefully it'll bring you all the answers to the questions that might have been burning in your in your back pocket while you've been watching the events in Ukraine unfold. With that said, hello everybody on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and now Twitter. Yes, I am in America. Samuel L. Jackson Cat. What a name. Yes, I am in America, but I am Ukrainian, and I was born and raised in Ukraine. So yeah, so that's kind of what I had to say in terms of what I've been working on and what I'm working on. I've got a what? Casey, I've got a Twitter space. Yeah, I have a Twitter. Hi, Zero. Good to see you. How are you? But yeah, I do have a Twitter. I do stream to Twitter now too, because I just figured, the software that I was using introduced Twitter as one of the platforms to stream to, and I figured why not? The more places I stream to, the more are the chances that more people will see it and more people will hear about Ukraine. Oh, so I'm not doing a Twitter space. No, I'm doing like a Twitter live, which is what they have now. And if you go on my Twitter, it like shows it there. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, hi Heroim Slava and hi Punk. But yeah, so it's been a crazy journey also on Twitch. If you guys have Twitch, I will ask you pretty please to follow me, because we are at 46 followers on Twitch out of 50 that are necessary to become a Twitch affiliate, which I didn't even know was a thing. Which I didn't even know was a thing until Twitch in bold letters was like, "Welcome back, you're almost an affiliate," and I was like, "What is that?" But yeah, but basically, I need 4 more people to follow me on Twitch, pretty please, to reach the goal, and that would be fascinating and fantastic and smooth and fascinating. If you've missed the new branding for Patreon, Patreon has new branding because, as I said earlier, we are going to be, oh, hi, Carrie. Thank you so much. Thank God it's Friday indeed. But if you've missed the new, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Carrie. If you've missed the new Patreon branding and the new YouTube branding and the new Twitch branding and the new Twitter branding, we basically have new branding everywhere. And the reason that happened is because I would like to make the channel a little more comprehensible. So, you will be able to go on Twitter and you will notice that I've been much more active on Twitter. Hi, Kareen. I'll also be much more active on Instagram. I hopefully will be more active on all of the social media. I am currently working on certain things for Patreon. I know I've been saying that for quite a long time now, but it's really happening. I am sort of trying to do this. I'm trying to do this kind of reintegration of this platform so it becomes more of like a more comprehensive source of news for all of you that you can kind of use all day long for updates, especially Twitter, because that way you will be able to sort of get your daily dose of news from every single platform that I am on. I think that all of the new changes that are going to be coming are going to be very good, and I hope you guys like them, because basically what it means is that all of this is going to be much more organized and much more professionally done, and not for like any purposes other than your convenience and more integration, and like and making this platform much more convenient for all of you to use and much more accessible. With that, I also figured that if it's going to be a more accessible platform, it also needs to have a more integrative name. So we are not Ukrainian American Spy now. I decided to I decided to kind of integrate the name Spy News Network International, because it was, we are international. Oh, hi, Trigger12. Thank you so much. Hi, Veronica. So yeah, so we kind of like are making some changes. The store is going to become more updated, and it's going to be more structured as well. And there is a lot of exciting stuff coming to the store, including a collaboration with Zero, the artist who created the likeness, my likeness on the illustration that you guys see over there, and well, everywhere. And yeah, and so basically, thank you so much, Veronica. And so basically, there is going to be just a lot more exciting stuff happening in the next couple of weeks, months, years, hopefully. And yeah, also the project for United 24 that I'm doing voiceovers for got verified as a full-time rubric. So there should be a lot more voiceovers coming from me onto hopefully Zelensky's page. Hi, kia ora. Hopefully onto Zelensky's page, and there just should be a lot more exciting stuff coming to the platform for all of us. So yay! This is just a little update that I wanted to share with all of you guys. And if you are a member of Patreon, please check out my latest post, because that way you will find out exactly what the interview is about. And also, basically, if you are a member on Patreon, please go ahead and check out my latest post. And oh my gosh, thank you. Please check out my latest post, and you will be able to contribute actually some questions to the interview, because at the end of the day, my goal with this interview is to answer all of the questions from Western audiences or from audiences outside of Ukraine that might be there for this particular group of people. Hi, Mariana, good to see you. And yeah, thank you, Carrie. And so if anything, I would like you to be able to contribute questions to that interview, because at the end of the day, I would like your questions to be answered. Now, these questions are going to be submitted to a certain institution for review. So I can't guarantee that all of them will pass that review, and it's out of my hands, but whichever ones will, I'll be able to ask. So please don't hesitate, and don't forget to comment on Patreon the questions that you might have for this particular interview, and I will try my best to paraphrase them and phrase them and frame them in a way in which they will pass the security, basically. But also, with that said, we don't want to accidentally damage. Chances of safety of the rest of that group of people. So we want to be very, 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 very mindful of what we ask. Anyways, yes, another Russian oligarch had fallen out of the window. I think either yesterday or the day before that. And that's why, and that's a normal thing in Russia. Love Life 06. The reason why it's only Patreon is because I can't post, I can't give you the topic of the interview openly. And I can't give you the name of the person or their identity openly, and Patreon is a safe space of only like 40 something people that I know follow me from the very beginning of this channel. And I can't give out the topic or the interviewee's identity or where he's from until the interview happens. So the reason why I've only submitted it on Patreon is because I know it's a safe space of people who are not going to be going and talking about it, and also because it's well, again, there is a very small, limited group of people there. So that means that I definitely feel safe and definitely feel, I definitely feel safe, basically. And this is a very, very important interview, and I wouldn't want anything to kind of accidentally even prevent that from happening. Therefore, it's on the down low, and unfortunately, most people are going to get to see the interview. Thank you, Scooter. To see the interview after it comes out and find out the topic after it comes out and meet the person after it comes out, not before. So that's why only Patreon. Hope that answers your question. Hi, Tammy. And it's mostly done for security reasons. No, I'm not in Ukraine. I'm just in my room. Well, and also because, you know, at the end of the day, there is a lot of questions that I have prepared, and I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's questions. Also, I'm not going to be able to take everyone's questions and submit them to be answered. And I'm pretty sure that if you were to find out who I'm interviewing specifically, everyone would have some sort of questions. And so, you know, I won't be able to answer all of them. Well, I guess the person won't be able to answer all of them either way. So I'm just trying to avail to comment on my room. Oh yeah, I'm in my room, you know. I'm not in Ukraine, but I am in my room, yes. Oh, hi, John. Good to see you. Hello. Good to see you. But so, yes, basically, it's just, you know, the secrecy, I guess, of the interview, the upholding of privacy of the interviewee until the interview comes out, and also because, you know, I can't possibly get them to answer everyone's questions, every single person's questions. And I think that this interview is at most is going to be an hour tops, if I'm lucky. And so, and each one of these questions kind of requires a very prolonged answer, or the questions that I already have prepared. So, you know, I just want to also get a feel for what kind of questions people are interested in, and also, Haraim Slava, Sashka, and sort of what people already know. I'm not Cherry. Okay. Anyways, so without further ado, I think that that's all I had for today in terms of catching up on my end. What is up with you guys? What is up with you guys? What is up with how was your day? And how are you guys doing? Oh, I see. There are people who are coming in and calling me Dasha and like whatnot, just like a random, you know, Russian name. So I'm used to all the worst. So I apologize. So, how are you guys? How was your day? How excited are you? It's Friday, and also Monday is a day off, right? So that's exciting. Oh, Chloe, congratulations. How are you liking it? Do you like it? How are you feeling about your new job? Все добре. Все добре. Glad for Friday, yay. Oh, I work tomorrow and Monday. Oh no. I look forward to a 3-day weekend too. Oh, hi Yum, good to see you. Oh my gosh. Haven't seen you in ages. Saturday for you, on holiday for 2 weeks. That's awesome. When you work every day, weekends make no sense. That's true. I mean, I used to work like my full-time job before this. I used to work 9 to 7 and weekends too, depending on how much I had to do. So I fully feel for you. But, you know, sometimes weekends feel nice because you can at least pretend to have some more free time, and you can at least pretend to have, you can at least, you know, you can kind of, like when you're not officially working on the weekend, but you just have a lot of work to accomplish on the weekend, you can at least do it on your own merit. Hi, Director Liv. Oh, nice. How is this cat doing? How is your son's cat doing? Where are you from? I'm from Ukraine, but I'm in the United States for the past 11 years. Did you get to talk to this Russian guy from Australia that you met on a Russian network? Yeah, I did. We follow each other. He was actually in the live yesterday. He was saying hello. But yeah, where do I find the videos with your voiceovers? You can find them on Zelensky's page on Instagram, or you can also find them on united24.media on TikTok. Oh, hi, Melissa. Yeah, he sneaks in with gifts. He snuck in with a gift, pretty much is what he did. But yes. Okay, so let's start on the news. There is not that much today, but there is enough. So let's start with Ukrainian armed forces in the south have carried out 18 airstrikes on the enemy in the past 24 hours, according to Operational Command South. Rocket and artillery units have practiced a number of firing missions against 9 control points, 2 ferry crossings, 2 drone control points, air defense facilities, and enemy concentrations. Fire control of the Antonov, Kakhovka, and Dariev bridges continues. Total enemy losses amount to 102 Russians, 6 tanks, an MSTAB howitzer, the Grad MLRS mobile 120mm mortar, 8 armored vehicles. The enemy's final casualties are being specified. The vessel Lady Zima, heading from Ukraine to Istanbul, blocked the Bosphorus. The ship ran aground due to a faulty rudder. According to the Turkish Coast Guard General Directorate, the 173-meter vessel anchored in Bebek Bay. Rescue boats and tugboats for cargo ships went to the scene. Traffic along the Bosphorus Strait has been suspended. Lady Zima is one of 6 ships with agricultural products that left Ukrainian ports on August 30th. Denmark will provide the armed forces of Ukraine with military uniforms and winter clothes. The Biden administration imposed restrictions on the sale of high-tech computer chips to China and Russia. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz considers it necessary to continue negotiations with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Of course he does. And French President Emmanuel Macron called for continued dialogue with Russia. Of course he did. Putin ordered the invaders to seize the Donetsk region by September 15th. The enemy continues to hold the occupied areas of Kharkiv, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Mykolaiv regions, and is also trying to create favorable conditions for the resumption of the offensive. Thus, the Russian occupation troops are once again adjusting their plans and actions in accordance with Putin's order to reach the administrative borders of the Donetsk region by September 15th, said Alexei Romov, Deputy Chief of the Main Operational Directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The enemy continues to try to fortify an already occupied territory. The main thing from the General Staff summary in the morning of September 2nd. Russian attacks on Bakhmut, Vasila Dolina, and Mayorsk were repulsed. Attacks and assaults near Avdiivka, Opytne, Pervomaiske, Nevelske, and Krasnohorivka are also repelled. Attacks near Kherson by Russian forces were launched against Potemkina and were halted. Successful missile strikes have been reported by the armed forces of Ukraine on targets in Novo-Osinivka, Kharkiv region, and in Tavrisk near Kherson. The Lady Zima, which left a Ukrainian port, has been salvaged in the Bosphorus. Traffic through the strait has been resumed, the Turkish Coast Guard said. Now, information from the Institute for the Study of War. Putin plans to assemble new forces for offensive in Ukraine in autumn and winter. Russia's leadership is probably preparing to assemble new forces to step up its offensive against Ukraine in the autumn and winter, experts at the Institute for the Study of War believe. They point out that Putin's announcement of plans to liquidate an anti-Russian enclave in Ukraine, as well as the repetition of old aggressive rhetoric against Ukrainians, indicates that the Russian president has not abandoned his maximalist intentions to take over the entire country. The statement is presumably aimed at creating an information environment to call for further Russian efforts and force building in the autumn and winter of this year, analysts say. Here's the thing. Yes, they can be asking for whatever it is that they want to be asking for, but the thing is that they really do not have enough equipment, and they're due to run out of missiles by the end of the year, which would mean December 2022. They're due to run out of shells. They can't regroup. They do not have enough men conscripting to the military. They do not have enough volunteers. They do not have enough people to draft. Their draft in Moscow and St. Petersburg was a failure of grand proportions. They really are, I don't know what they're trying to do by saying that they want to do an offensive, that they want to try and take over the whole country, or that they're planning like this giant offensive operation. If they can't really even sort of, they don't have any means for it, which, you know, is something that really bugs me. Sorry, let me just do something here really quick. That is something that really bugs me in terms of like how I understand that they say a lot, and I understand that they can say whatever they want, but it's honestly like quite impressive to me how delusional their thinking is and how much they think the world does not understand what their resources are like. It's like they're still trying to lie. They're still trying to pretend like they can do something. And they think that the world really doesn't know what their true capabilities are. But it's, you know, no one in their right mind in this world anymore believes them or thinks that they have by any means enough capacity to do anything really. And they're running out of ammunition. They're running out of shells. Thank you, Netlin. They're running out of people. They're running out of everything. And it does not look like they will be able to replenish it because they do not have enough materials in order to manufacture new shells, or in order to increase their artillery, or in order to increase their equipment, or in order to like even get the uniform for these soldiers for the winter. Like, have you seen the Russian uniforms? These guys are just gonna freeze to death. Like, basic, you know, their basic readiness for battle, for combat is so low that they won't even be able to perform any operations in the winter within the military realm in Ukraine, because they simply won't even be able to stay warm. So there is just so much wrong with this entire rhetoric, and there's so much wrong with this entire plan on the most basic scale, that I don't see how they think it's going to work. Oh, I see. Wow. Interesting. So this channel that I usually read from in English asked all of the subscribers today to read from the Ukrainian channel and just use the automatic translation button, which is going to be fun because something is happening and they're unable to do English translation. which is very interesting, but sure, let's see what they have posted today. Although their like main channel, their, as they call their core channel, they actually post a lot more information. Okay, let's see. That's actually incredibly interesting because I don't have the translation button in my Telegram. That might be because it's an old Telegram. Okay, well, I do have two channels from which I read. So we can, is it Ukraine Now? It is, but it's a different one. So there are two Ukraine Nows. There are two channels titled Ukraine Now, and both of them are really good. They're two super different channels, but recently I've been actually preferring the other one anyway. So I will be reading from that one. Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, considers it strange that the IAEA mission stayed at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant only for 2 hours. The Ukrainian side believes that when a mission of this level, and this is, first of all, an engineering nuclear physical mission that came not just to look at the territory of the canteen or certain halls, but a mission that has specific algorithms of studying what is happening with the control mechanism of such a complex infrastructure as a nuclear power plant. Is there a contour safety hazard there, radiation, nuclear, and what state is the reactor in generally? That is why it is surprising that it was only 2 hours, Podolyak emphasized. Finland to provide Ukraine with additional defense aid worth 8.3 million. Minister of Defense Antti Kaikkonen. Ukraine's defense fight continues. The need for assistance remains great. We are sending a new package of defense supplies, the minister said in a statement published on the website of the Ministry of Defense of Finland. It is already the 8th batch of military aid from Finland to Ukraine. Also, Antti, if you are on YouTube, and also if there is anybody like Novice or Nowiz who is Finnish or speaks Finnish, please let me know how to pronounce Kaikkonen as a last name, because I'm sure that I'm not doing it right. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Moldova summoned Russian diplomats because of Lavrov's statements. Moldovan publication Newsmaker. On September 1st, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Moldova, Nicu Popescu, summoned Russia's charge d'affaires in Moldova regarding the statement of Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov about the Russophobia in Moldova and possible threats to the security of Russian military in Transnistria. The Moldovan Foreign Ministry reported that no cases of violations of the rights of national minorities speaking Russian or other languages were registered in Moldova. Yeah, Kaikkonen, but how do I pronounce it? Like, how do I pronounce it right? The rights of the population speaking Russian, Ukrainian, Gagauz, Bulgarian, the languages of other national minorities are respected under democratic principles, the ministry noted. The movement of Russian military equipment in the direction of Donetsk was recorded in Mariupol. Advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, Petro Andrushenko, reports Ukrinform. 17 trucks with military from the village of Manhush left in the direction of Bordyansk in the morning, the advisor wrote. Russia convenes the UN Security Council meeting on September 6 due to the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Russian state-owned agency TASS. According to Ukraine's official position, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is shelled by Russian troops. Documents in the Yewleea app became available to foreigners, Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, Mikhailo Fedorov. More than 200,000 foreigners with residence permits live in Ukraine. Now Yewleea will become more accessible to them. Permanent and temporary residence permits can be downloaded into the app. Foreigners no longer need to carry a plastic ID to confirm their identity. All data is in the Yewleea app, simple, convenient, humane, said the minister. Zelensky held a meeting with Minister of Foreign Affairs of Denmark, Jeppe Kofod. The president expressed his sincere gratitude for the country's support of the Ukrainian people during such difficult times for them. He also thanked Denmark for agreeing to join in the restoration of infrastructure facilities in the Mykolaiv region. In addition, Zelensky emphasized the importance of Denmark's support for the sanctions policy against the Russian Federation. For this part, the Danish Minister for Foreign Affairs welcomed Ukraine's efforts in its fight for independence, territorial integrity, and democracy. Guys, there is some very strange noise coming out of my hallway, so I need to go check that out. I'm really sorry. I'll be back in a minute. I just keep hearing noises, and they're kind of like, they're scaring me, so I'll be back. Okay, so it's just my roommate Emmy. She's just home earlier than normal. We're not being invaded. Cindy, here, if you want to go. There you go. Cindy in the background. Yeah, you got some Cindy in the background. But yes, sorry for that. I was just like, let me make sure that my apartment is not no, so okay, from what you've heard, basically, like, we've been battling with our super for like 2.5 weeks now, because we kept smelling gas in our apartment, and Emmy has a really good sense of like smell. She was like, hey, it smells like gas, before either one of us could even hear it. And so Emmy could smell. Huh? What? Threw up? Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, 1 second. Okay, 1 sec. Sorry. Sorry, today is apparently a great day to have a newscast, because Cindy threw up. So yeah, well, I apologize for leaving you hanging. But yeah, so basically we had like a whole situation with our stove, and Emmy could smell it, then all of us could smell it, then our super came in, he couldn't smell it, he was like, it does not smell like gas. We're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? It smells like gas throughout the entire apartment. And if you like walked in to our apartment, you could smell gas like immediately. But it wasn't anything like, I knew it wasn't an emergency because it wasn't anything like crazy, right? It was like a very faint, very, very faint, like a very, very faint smell of of gas, so I knew it would be like a micro leak or something. But he kept saying he didn't smell it. And then today there was this guy that came in to repair our fridge, because there is like, I have an ice and water machine in the fridge. The ice machine works. The ice machine works and the water machine doesn't. So I was like, hey, can someone please come in and fix it? And so the guy who came to fix the fridge was like, hey, did you know that you have a gas leak in your stove? And I was like, oh my God, hi, yes. Please tell me more. So he changed the pipe, like the stove pipe, and now it doesn't smell. I have a carbon monoxide detector, but it for some reason only detects like giant outbursts of carbon monoxide. But also that's normally what happens. Like if it's a tiny micro leak, like a micro leak, it's not going to go off. It's only going to go off if it's like a dangerous amount of carbon monoxide. So yeah, those carbon monoxide detectors, unless they're like super sensitive and expensive, they're not going to tell you unless you like there is a ton of carbon monoxide. Also, we kept our windows open this whole time, so it would kind of, come out and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyways, all good now. Zelensky held a meeting with Minister for Foreign Affairs of Denmark, Jeppe Kofod. The president expressed his sincere gratitude for the country's support of the Ukrainian people during such difficult times for them. He also thanked Denmark for agreeing to join in the restoration of infrastructure facilities in the Mykolaiv region. In addition, Zelensky emphasized the importance of Denmark's support for the sanctions policy against the Russian Federation. For his part, the Danish Minister for Foreign Affairs welcomed Ukraine's efforts in its fight for independence, territorial integrity, and democracy. He assured that his country would provide Ukraine with as much support as necessary. The IAEA inspectors had no private conversations with personnel, according to Suspilne, which is a Ukrainian network. Good evening, Annette. Zaporizhia, the IAEA mission inspectors moved around the plant and spoke to the personnel of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in the presence of Russian military and Rosatom employees. A Zaporizhian PP engineer told this to Suspilne on condition of anonymity. They led Grossi and the inspectors along their route, showed the missile arrivals maps, and brought local collaborators to them with statements from non-indifferent citizens about the need to stop shelling. It was a circus, said a Zaporizhia nuclear power plant employee. According to him, the Russians were convincing the mission representatives that there were radiological, chemical, and biological defense troops at the plant, and that it was the Ukrainian armed forces who shelled the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, not combat units of the Russian army. So Russia put on a charade at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is basically at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, basically. Yulia, you can get a specific gas detector that will register even a small leak. Yes, but how much is it? Because that does not, no detectors right now come into my budget. The EU will mobilize 5 million to preserve the cultural heritage of Ukraine. Vice President of the European Commission, Margaritis Shinas. Culture is not just collateral damage, but a deliberate target of Russian aggression. The EU will mobilize an additional 5 million for cultural heritage preservation, wrote the vice president on Twitter. Also, Margaritis Shinas thanked the Minister of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine, Alexander Tkachenko, for continuous work to protect the rich cultural heritage of Ukraine and the memory of the victims. The Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, Mikhailo Fedorev, demonstrated how the army of drones works on the front line, and that is how it does. Sweden will provide Ukraine with important tools needed by the Ukrainian armed forces on the front lines, Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov. Great news of a new military assistance package from Sweden, which my friend and colleague, head Peter Hultqvist, confirmed today by VTC. Some important and valuable tools will be provided to our troops on the front line. Dear, you help us the way old friends do, the minister wrote on Twitter. Ukraine should not coordinate the liberation of its territories with anyone, says an SDC Secretary Danilov. We should not agree on the liberation of our territories. If we were talking about the non-use at certain stages of the weapons that we received from the United States against objects on the territory of the Russian Federation, then this is a slightly different matter. The United States did not issue a visa to Russian Interior Minister Vladimir Kolokholtsev to attend a meeting of heads of police services at the UN, said Russia's permanent representative to the World Organization, Vasily Nebenzia. Speaking at this conference, Kolokholtsev and other Russian security officials were going to visit the United States for the participation of heads of police services of UN countries. However, the entire delegation was denied American visas. Hi, Rob MQ. What's up? Chinese company Weichai Power Co. Ltd. has suspended the supply of gas engines for Kamaz, Izvestia citing 3 of its sources familiar with the situation. According to one of them, this was due to the position of the Chinese authorities, who warned the corporation against working with sanctioned companies from Russia. So China has now seized the deliveries of gas engines to Kamaz, which is one of the biggest companies. Which is one of the biggest companies that supplies car engines to. Basically, Kamaz is a company that Kamaz is a company that produces Russian trucks. And let me remind you that in the beginning of the invasion, when they got sanctioned and they stopped being able to like produce their own stuff and their own engines, hi Campit, their own engines, thank you so much. They basically had to come out and start making their trucks the same way they made them in the 60s. So stall like reverse 60 years of progress of machinery building, but I mean, were they really that progressive? But so yes, that's what happened. What do you mean obvious, Rob? It's a pro-Ukrainian news stream because there is no other way that a person with a functioning brain can conduct a news stream. And unless someone is very keen on Russian propaganda and incredibly susceptible to it, then every person in the world would be pro-Ukrainian. I also can't believe that there is a question between pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian in the world, because it's like, even if you love the Russian propaganda and even if you love talking about Nazis and even if you love justifying this invasion, at the end of the day, Russia is killing thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. So it's like none of that is justified. Even if Ukrainians were some like evil, terrible people who lived in their country, and even if we were trying to like, I don't know, be like just completely Ukrainian, exclusionary and whatever, that's something we're doing in our country. If we're not trying to impose it on the world, then what the fuck does Russia have to do with it? No, See, here's the thing. You're going to get banned with the speed of the light if you're going to say something pro-Russian or pro-Putin, or you're going to like, what if Ukraine, or if you're going to what if whatever topic to make Ukraine sound like it's guilty of anything, because we've heard it all and I really don't want to hear it. So if you want to say anything about Russia, or if you want to say anything that by any means tries to sympathize with Russia, then I would suggest that you leave. The cruise liner MS Ambition arrived in Glasgow, which together with MS Victoria will be used for the temporary resettlement of refugees from Ukraine. It is reported by the BBC. MS Ambition can accommodate 1,750 people in 714 cabins. It will be anchored for 6 months, and the settlers can leave at any time. What does my tag say? It's not a tag, it's a microphone. Radiation disasters know no borders. Therefore, Lithuania proposes to the UN to send a police mission to ZNPP. Deputy General Commissioner of Police of Lithuania, Arūnas Paulauskas, said during today's UN policy. I swear, I don't understand. I don't understand why people play music so loud in their cars. The servicemen of the Russian army control. Deputy General Commissioner of Police of Lithuania, Arūnas Paulauskas, said during today's UN Police Summit in New York, where the Russian delegation was unable to attend. The servicemen of the Russian army control and use for their own purposes the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, an accident at which will threaten even the most remote countries of the world. Lithuania supports the establishment of a long-term IAEA mission at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, where the UN police could help ensure the plant's physical security. Lithuania is also ready to take an active part in the implementation of such a mission and send Lithuanian law enforcement officers to the Zaporizhzhia NPP. Paulaskas said. Hi, Lithuanian ball. Epic video of the Bayraktar work in the Kherson direction. This time, enemy 120mm mortars 2B11, Burevestnik and Ural with DC were destroyed. Ukraine can deoccupy Kherson without hostilities, Act General Director of the Royal Institute of the United Armed Forces of Great Britain, Michael Clark. According to him, for this, the armed forces of Ukraine need to encircle 20,000 invaders who are located west of the Dnipro. They don't want to bomb the city, and so they can take back Kherson just by launching this fast offensive that threatens to encircle 20,000 soldiers. Let's see. Oleg Sanahubov, head of the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration, the invaders once again struck at the peaceful infrastructure of Kharkiv and the region. Around midnight, the Russians destroyed the premises of the Lokomotiv sports complex named after Kirpa in the Kholodnogirsk district with S-300 missile strikes. This is a world sports arena where Ukrainian champions in synchronized swimming trained. Within these walls, world stars from various sports and winners of the Olympic Games performed. The swimming pool, a modern boxing club, which opened only in February of this year, were destroyed. Putin is not deterred by the failures of his army in Ukraine. The Russian president is preparing to create new forces for an offensive in the fall and winter. But the reality is that the Russian armed forces are still trampling around in the Donbass and are unlikely to be able to capture the region before September 15th. Experts in the Institute of the Study of War say. Here's the thing, like, it's crazy because at this point, I mean, like, I'm not even being like, oh my gosh, he sounds delusional. But I think that at this point, it's just a man with an ego and rage who wants unattainable goals. And very clearly, Russia is losing. Very clearly, their power is only diminishing and diminishing. Very clearly, their military capabilities are going down and down and down. And so there is no way that he can build another army, and there is no way that he can try and take the entirety of Ukraine or whatever these goals are that he has, because it just isn't going to happen. They're not going to have enough money. They're not going to have enough, even if they have enough money, they're not going to have enough missiles. They're not going to have enough equipment. They're not going to have enough infantry. They're not going to have enough artillery. They're not going to have enough anything. So at this point, it just seems like a crazy child, a crazy delusional man who's losing and therefore losing his mind. He's just like, oh my gosh, we're going to try to do this. We're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. No, we're going to capture Ukraine. And he's like not looking at the real possibilities. You're making a clown out of yourself, because no matter, he wants to seem like this tough man who doesn't give up, but he ends up looking like an idiot with no information, who doesn't know what he's doing. And those are two very different things. The Free Democratic Party of Germany called for the dismantling of Nord Stream 2. Representatives of the party that is part of the ruling coalition said that the gas pipeline from the very beginning was a geopolitical project of the Kremlin, the purpose of which was to isolate Ukraine. The transfer of American fighter jets to Ukraine is still being discussed, but it will take years. So today, the United States is focused on ensuring the effective use of the aircraft available in the armed forces of Ukraine and training Ukrainian pilots. All the more so as the Ukrainian Air Force is showing extra professional abilities even under the existing conditions and is on guard against the enemy daily. Hi, Walasi. Experts spoke about the rape of Zaporizhzhia. A military expert spoke about the rape of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant employees by Russians. There is information from our power engineers. They talk about physical violence and rape of nuclear power plant employees and the use of physical force against nuclear power plant employees. That is, the Russian troops are not ashamed of anything. The massacre continues here too, only there, so far without fatal consequences, Oleg Zhdanov said. It's, you know, all of the things that they do, they're so awful and so atrocious that they fail to even kind of register in my head at this point, because this is just so normal for them and this is nothing out of the ordinary that it doesn't seem like this just doesn't seem like nothing new. This just doesn't seem like anything new, does it? Because we keep hearing this every day. And the reason why we get so desensitized to Russian crimes is because of the frequency of them. And that's terrifying. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi spoke out about the first results of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant inspection, Energoatom reports. According to Grossi, he inspected emergency systems, diesel generators, block shields of power units, and other elements, adding that the IAEA plans to stay in Ukraine. He noted that a group of experts remained at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant until September 4th or 5th to assess the situation, and they plan to ensure the permanent presence of the organization's employees at the plant. Grossi stressed that the Ukrainian workers of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant are in a difficult situation, but they work with great professionalism. Yes, they have always been wild animals. The Chinese payment system UnionPay banned the service of cards in Russian banks. UnionPay's decision stems from the fear of secondary sanctions. UnionPay reportedly entered into limited partnerships with sanctioned banks, both in terms of acquiring and issuance on its own initiative. So, I don't know if you've noticed, but recently there have been a lot of articles of China suspending deliveries of this and that to Russia, of China suspending services of this and that to Russia. And if you have noticed, there is a lot of news coming out recently about China seizing partnerships with Russia. That's what it looks like when rats run from a sinking ship. And that's what it looks like when countries in the world start to see that Russia has no means of winning by any means. Because as I said earlier in the beginning of the invasion, I think that China is strategically trying to stay on the good side of both the West and Russia. And at this point, they're just trying to juggle, well, if the West wins, we're going to be still good with the West because we didn't do anything too wrong. If Russia wins, then we were still trying to help them out, right? And now you really, really see how China is distancing and distancing and distancing. Hi, Graham. And all that signifies is that China sees that Russia is doomed. And therefore, they're trying to clean up all of their presence in Russia because they know that there is nothing they can gain out of it anymore. Evan says, Yulia, do Ukrainian people have a positive affinity? Do Ukrainian people have a positive affinity for Kazakhs? Yes, for the people, not necessarily for the government. The government is hard to trust. M9300. China and Russia are moving economically. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not even going to read that. Bye, troll. Arrivederci. I don't even need this. I'm sorry. China and Russia are moving closer together and their economies are getting more integrated. Both are doing well, which is good for the world and for Americans. Americans should side with Russia and China against the US financial oligarchy. Yeah, right. Honey bunnies, I suggest you get out of your little informational propaganda bubble. Your life is going to be much better that way, because that is a level of delusion I don't even want to dive into. Normally I do. Normally I do want to dive into that level of delusion because I just want to talk to you. But at the same time, I feel like at this point, I'm sorry, you're saying that Russia's economy is rising. Honey, Russia is the most sanctioned country in the world. Honey, Russia is falling apart at the seams. And I understand that you as a Russian troll want to believe that that's not true. But I want to believe in Santa. He doesn't exist, though. And just because you want to believe it and just because you read about that in Russian mass media does not mean it's true. Like, I like Santa as well. I do want him to be real. He's not, though. And at some point, your reality is going to get shattered because you're going to find out. Yeah, the U.S. has no right to sanction Russia. Sir, the U.S. has any right to sanction whoever they want if they deem them dangerous. So yeah. Anyways, you enjoy your day or not. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your glass of vodka, and enjoy your propaganda sniffing ritual, because that seems to be working very well for you. Have a good one. Anyways, Russians on the border with Latvia refuse to let Ukrainians out of the occupied territories. Telegram channels write that the border guards of the Russian Federation are doing their best to prevent people from leaving for Latvia through the territory of the Russian Federation, passing up to 10 people per hour. As a result, the Ukrainians have to stand in line for 3 days, and the Russians are looking for reasons not to let them in, explaining the delays with system failures, shift changes, or simply closing the checkpoints for the night. So these are Ukrainian people sitting at the Latvia border, not being able to pass through. Those are the people who are forcefully deported to Russia, and they're trying to get out of Russia and go to Latvia. Putin understands that he is now in danger of losing and is trying to regain his positions diplomatically. Since there is no end to the war in sight, Ukraine is likely to face increasing international pressure to take new diplomatic initiatives in the coming months. Therefore, it is crucial to fix in advance the key conditions for Ukraine under which negotiations will be possible. There we go. I'm going to download this video and I'm going to play it full screen on YouTube, Twitch, and До свидания, comrade. Exactly. I love how these Russian trolls are like, I am not Russian, I'm American. America has no right to sanction Russia. It's like, dude, even if you were an American and you held these beliefs, you would still think that America has a right to sanction whoever they goddamn want, because you'd be like, America is the best country in the world. Nothing wrong here. Anyways, so yes, this is how, so for all of you Russian trolls, when you try to convince me that you are American and you're talking about America not having a right to do something in the world, this is how you differentiate yourself as a Russian troll, not a Trump supporter who listens to Tucker Carlson. Because a Trump supporter thinks that America can do anything America wants, okay? So when you say America has no right to do something, I know you're Russian troll. I know you're Russian troll. I know you're not a Trump supporter in America because you'd never say that. Hi, Nanny Ria. I know you're Russian troll. I know you a little too well, my little sneaky. Anyways, you think you're sneaky, but you're not so sneaky. You're not so sneaky. Anyways, not sneaky enough. I mean, for some reason, all Russian trolls want to like seem like they're American when it's convenient, but you know, in order to seem American, you need to seem American. And this is not making you seem American, you know? But anyways, so let me do something over here because I want to show you what is happening. Okay, here we go. 1 second. Great content. Thank you. Okay, share. Let me do this, and I will. Okay. I decided that this is probably the best way to do this because, 1 sec. So, video file, and there we go. Okay, well. Remove. Oh, yay! We now have 50 followers on Twitch. Woo-hoo! That's actually great news. That is amazing news. Now, let me grab my remote for my light over here because I need more light. More light is good. Look at that. So much more light. Probably a little too much light in this case. Yeah, this is a good amount of light. Also, for anyone on TikTok who is going to comment that I might be flashing because I'm wearing a dress, I have shorts underneath the dress, so thank you for protecting my modesty. It is protected. Just FYI. I am wearing shorts, so no worries here. Привет, Odessa. 14 Ukrainian defenders returned from captivity, coordinating headquarters for the treatment of prisoners of war. 14 Ukrainian defenders returned home. Among them, 10 are from 58th OMBR and 4 are from 30th OMBR. They were captured by the occupying forces this spring. The exchange took place today in the Donetsk region. Among the released soldiers are an officer and a military medic. So woohoo! This is honestly fantastic news, and I'm so happy that more Ukrainian defenders are returning to Ukraine, and more of them are getting exchanged, because this is phenomenal news. This is fantastic, and I'm really happy that they're not going to be tortured by awful, awful Russians any more than they already have, because that would be awful, honestly. That would truly be awful. It's too orange. This is good. Okay, this is good. There we go. Так, звичайно, привіт, приємно познайомитись. The Swedish manufacturer of household appliances Electrolux decided to leave Russia. The subsidiary will be sold. The businesses will be transferred to local management. Another thing that I want to say, I'm sorry. Ukraine is a dictatorship on YouTube over here decided to say. Putin said Ukrainians and Russians are same people. Why fight your brothers? Why not watch Fox News or RT News? Why don't you try to kidnap the UN nuclear team? Zelensky's joke needs to be replaced with Petrov. First of all, no thank you. Nobody needs to be replaced with Petrov. If you like Petrov so much, he's available. Take him to Russia. He will be your president. I will give you Petro Poroshenko myself. I will pay for his flight to Russia. You take him. You take him. I will miss Roshan Candy. It is very good, but you take him. Second of all, Putin said Ukrainians and Russians are brothers. I say you and me are brother and sister. Does that make me and you brother and sister? I don't fucking know you, man. You don't know me. So just because Putin says it doesn't mean it's true, okay? I don't care what Putin says. You shouldn't either. Anyways, why not watch Fox News or RT News? Why not watch Fox News or RT News? I'll tell you why. Because RT is Russian propaganda and Fox is slowly becoming Russian propaganda too. Also, I cannot tolerate that amount of Trump's ugly face. So I don't want to watch Fox News because I cannot tolerate to see this much of fake tan and this much of a balding man with terrible hair who refuses to admit that he's balding and shave it off. Really can't. Now let's move on to the new point. Why did you try to kidnap UN nuclear team? I'm sorry, what are you sniffing? Is glue in Russia this hallucinational now? Last time I checked, you had PVA. PVA cannot give you this much hallucination, is not strong enough. What are you sniffing? Now let's move on to the next subject. Zelensky's joke needs to be replaced with Petrov. Well, we already covered that. You want Petrov, I give you Petrov. You want Petrov, take Petrov. You want Petrov, I will, listen, if I can't afford his ticket to Russia myself, we will fundraise. We will fundraise for Petrov's ticket to Russia. Are we done here? Okay, thank you, goodbye, enjoy your day, and go sniff some more glue. Anyways, also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but also many more companies are now starting to leave Russia as well. I don't know if you've noticed this little moment, but that's the thing. Like every day, it's like Nokia left Russia, Electrolux left Russia, LG left Russia, Samsung left Russia. Like all of these companies that were staying in Russia for 6 months and are now mass fleeing. In the past week, I've seen about 60 different companies that left Russia. That is another sign that these companies are like, uh-oh, wrong decision. Oh, this is clearly not winning. This is clearly not going anywhere. This country and its economy is tanking. We don't want to be here. We must salvage our reputation as soon as we can. Why now, not before? Because now they know that Russia is falling apart, and now they know that they need to salvage their reputation before it's too late, although I think it's too late. Finland announced the provision of a new humanitarian aid package to Ukraine in the amount of 35 million euros. Mikhailo Fedorov, soon Estonia will have its own Dia app. The most digital EU country is starting to study the Ukrainian experience of creating a state application with documents and services. Thank you, Kathleen. By the end of the year, the Estonians will launch their first MVP. The Dia team will share the Dia code and UX/UI design approaches with colleagues. Today in Kyiv, a memorandum was signed on expanding cooperation with the Minister of Entrepreneurship and Information Technology of Estonia, Christian Jarvan, or Yarvan. The Russian armed forces are no longer able to bring the reserves to Kherson region, reports Natalia Humanyuk, press secretary of Operational Command South. That means that they're losing swiftly in Kherson. Ukraina зараз. Workers of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant connected the 5th unit to the grid. Power buildup is ongoing, reports Enerhoatom. The unit was disconnected yesterday due to mortar shelling by the Russian invaders. At the moment, 2 units operate at the plant producing electricity for Ukraine. IAEA mission representatives keep working on the plant territory. The G7 countries, US, Canada, Great Britain, Germany, France, Italy, and Japan, have agreed to limit the prices for oil and oil products from Russia. The limitations are designed to reduce the Russian Federation's revenues and its ability to finance war. Also, Russia has disconnected Nord Stream 1 again and is not sending gas to Europe. And they thought that that would result in another gas blackmail, but European countries' reaction has been, hey, that only proves how unreliable you are as a supplier, and we cannot work with you any longer either way because you keep making up and existing reasons to cut us off from gas and electricity, and in order to serve your agenda. So we cannot rely on you as a supplier anyway. So it really doesn't matter. We're going to be moving away from working with you. And that is not the response that Russia was hoping for. The response that Russia was hoping for was, oh my God, no, what are we going to do? Russia cut off our gas and electricity supply again. We need to, we need to start mending our relationship with them because, oh no, what are we going to do? Cold winter, et cetera, et cetera. And Europe was like, well, no, you're just goddamn unreliable, and we don't want to deal with you. That's it. And you keep proving how unreliable you are. The counteroffensive in the south of Ukraine. The armed forces of Ukraine has hit the ammo depot and a ferry crossing in Kherson region. As a consequence, according to the Operational Command South, the Russian armed forces sustained the following losses: 37 soldiers, 4 tanks, 4 MSTAB howitzers, a Grad multiple rocket launcher, 10 armored vehicles, an ammunition depot in Berislav district. Every EU member state except for Hungary agreed to provide financial guarantees for 5 more billion euros of macro-financial assistance to Ukraine in the form of long-term credits. The governing party of Poland has initiated a ruling that bans issuing visas to the Russians, reports Niezależna. This step is necessary not only to make supporters of the war in Ukraine feel its consequences, but also to prevent intelligence gathering. The Russian banks have lost 25 billion USD in the last half a year. 40% of the largest backbone Russian banks have sustained losses, according to Dmitry Tulin, the first deputy head of the Central Bank of the Russian Federation. He said that the banking sector has sustained losses in currency swaps for the first time in 7 years due to the Western ban on trading in dollars, euro, and other convertible currencies. Russia has completely stopped the supply of gas to Europe due to the malfunction of Nord Stream, according to Gazprom. Denmark is going to supply military uniforms and winter clothing to the armed forces of Ukraine. US President Joe Biden will request $11.7 billion in emergency funding from Congress to provide lethal aid and budget support to Ukraine, according to Reuters. Germany will give money allocated for Ukrainian culture support to Russian mass media. Is about 20 million euros of aid to Ukrainian culture previously announced by Germany. I found out in Germany that the funds allocated for the media in a certain proportion will be directed to support Ukrainian journalists who are in Germany, as well as to support the Russian opposition press. Alexander Tkachenko, Minister of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine, said. He added that it is not clear how the Russian opposition media is related to supporting the Ukrainian media. Yeah, I don't know how Russian opposition media is related to supporting Ukrainian media. No money from the support of Ukraine package should go to anything Russia related. If you want to support Russia and Russian media, then you should get a package to support Russia and Russian media and get it approved by the Congress and get it approved by the government. But this whole rhetoric of like, oh, we have 7.5 billion to help Ukraine and 2 billion of that is going to go for Russian media. What the fuck? Russian media has nothing to do with Ukraine. Stop. It is not the same package. We're not the same country. It is not the same situation. Russia has Russian problems. And to give like, what they're going to justify it as is like, oh, but Russian media is going to try and inform Russians about what's happening in Russia. Well, then that is a support of democracy of Russia. Not anything that has to do with helping Ukraine. Not. Stop bunching us together into the same entity. We're not the same entity, and giving our support money to any causes within Russia is bunching us up into the same entity. Prisoners in the Kherson region got out of the occupation zone by themselves. People walked for several kilometers and waded through the Ingulets River before reaching the nearest settlement controlled by Ukraine. Men and women said that they had lived in the village all their lives, so they knew all possible crossing points. According to them, up to 100 civilians still remain in that settlement, mostly elderly people who did not want to leave their homes and farms, said the Kherson Regional National Police. Now the evacuated people have already reached a safe place and received temporary shelter. 15 civilians who died at the hands of Russian invaders were buried in Bucha. Among the buried, only 2 people have been identified. Russian military equipment removed from ZNPP before IAEA mission arrived. In connection with the arrival of the IAEA mission, the occupiers removed all the military equipment from the territory of Zaporizhia NPP. About 100 equipment units were redeployed to Atomenergomash plant, and the rest was spread across the closest settlements, the report states. Thousands of fighters of the armed forces of Ukraine have already been trained abroad. And then the Guardian journalist talked to Nikopol residents living a few kilometers from the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which now attracts the attention of almost the whole world. At the center of the plot are the nuclear terrorism of the aggressor state and the constant destruction that Russia brings with it. Let me see if this has, okay, yes, it has subtitles, so let me download it, and I will play it on, one second. Let me download it and I will play it. So. Here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play it on the computer. It's 12 minutes long, so it's a pretty long video. And therefore, what is Cindy up to? Cindy is probably snoozing. And therefore, I am going to move things around a little bit so all of you guys can see it. Let me do, sorry, just temporary issues. So all of you guys can see it and all of you guys can read it. Okay. Let me know when you can see the screen well. And I will also mirror your video. Okay, so you should be able to see this. And I will do share video file.
Люди кажут.
Hello. How are you guys? Did you find the video informative? Do you think that videos like this are something that we should continue showing on the channel? Are they useful? Do you guys find them useful? Because if you do, then we're going to continue showing these videos and we're going to continue doing things like that. Oh, hi, Truthful. Thank you. But yeah, just let me know what you find useful and what you find not useful, what you find good, what you find not good. Because again, I want to continue making the channel, come on, as interesting for you as possible. Cindy, come on, move your butt. Sorry, Cindy over here was not moving her butt promptly, and you know, not moving butt promptly is not good. Okay, awesome. Yay. So that is all I had for today in terms of news in Ukraine. So yeah, that is all I had for today. Yeah, of course. Unless there's any proof, it's just speculation, sure. But it's as in like it's still like it's still interesting to hear people out, and it's still interesting to sort of like listen to the interviews from people who are local and who are in the front lines and stuff like that. At least to me, I'm not trying to pose them as like reality. I'm just trying to give you as much information as like as available on the interwebs, you know. Cindy, can I help you? Do you want to sit your butt on my leg? Is that what's happening? Oh, thank you, Naniria. I will try to find out, Charles. I'll try to find out for you. And yeah, of course. Hi guys. Thank you for watching the news. Sini, leave the bunnies alone. Sini, leave the bunnies alone. Sini. Thank you, Netlin. Do you see what's happening behind me? Well, I think you see it better on YouTube. You don't see it as good on TikTok, but here. This is Sini and the bunnies. Do you see that crude little face? Crude little face. I see dog activity. Cine completely took over. Yeah, Russia is destroying a lot of Ukrainian cultural sites. Actually, there is a huge like discord among Ukrainian society about the Ministry of Culture Preservation of Ukraine, because they're really not doing their job well, and we're very, 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 very not happy with them, to say the least. So yeah. Sini, that is not where you're supposed to sleep. That is not where you're supposed to sit, Sini. Those are my pillows. Sini, no. Sini, no. Sini. At an OP shop, loved it but dropped it. Getting, oh no! Sina, you do understand that that is not how life works. Sini's like, this is my bed now, you sleep on the floor now. You think Sini just now decided to tell me that? How cute. Sini came home, and the first night she came home, she peed in that exact bed and sat there with pride. Sini, can I help you? Is this even comfortable? Oh yeah, you want to put your little pawsies onto my pillow? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go hang out with that creature. Yeah, that's so sweet. Okay, I love that. I wish they didn't break, but it is what it is. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, Cindy in the background just being Cindy. I think I gotta go hang out with her. I think I gotta go hang out with Cindy. Do you hear her snores? Thank you for listening to the updates. Bye, guys. Bye, Peter. We'll find you a new blue and yellow thing. And now the bunnies, yes. And now the bunnies. Now the bunnies. Bye, guys. Bye. She's giving me the look. Bye. Bye bye.